What is going on? Welcome to Pardon the Disruption. It is week 12. Week 12 here, sunny right here in Austin, Texas, downtown Austin, Texas. I'm here joined by my co-host, Frank Rogers. Frank, welcome to week 12. We made it.
We did. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. Good morning. Before we get started with the show, I just want to thank our sponsors, Restream. Restream is what we're using to produce this show today and get this out here. If you want to do a live stream yourself, you can check them out. You can start for free. Check out the link down below here, go.acuerdo.io/Restream. Restream is helping us do all of this, make all of this happen right now.
They are the master mesh.
They are.
Yeah, indeed. Also sponsoring us today, Nice and Contact, global leader in CX and contact center technology. Wouldn't be here without them. I mean, they're a core element of what we do and how we bring CX to life. So we appreciate them in every regard. Common Desk, what can we say? They're amazing people, an amazing platform. We're here, 6 and Congress, downtown Austin, high atop the Littlefield building. It's a beautiful view. It's a beautiful day. They've done an exceptional job of creating a great workplace.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you guys are just joining us, we're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So don't be a stranger. Say hello, drop a comment. Dare I say, give us a like if you like what you see. And stick around because we got a powerful show lined up today, followed by an awesome Clubhouse session as well. So we are live on Clubhouse at the moment.
We are.
If you are on the way out the door, you can join us on Clubhouse. Acuerdo.club will get you there, and we'll see you on Clubhouse as well. So we'll be there immediately after the show to get into a deeper dive discussion around what we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. Well, today is a special day. I mean, we have a special guest. Joining us today is Dr. Tracy Brower, and she's a thought leader, an author, speaker, kind of a bigwig at Steelcase, but really, more than anything, really an expert on happiness at work balance, all the things that are challenging us today, and a perfect complement to a lot of the things that we've been talking about over the last several weeks around technology, enabling, working from home, what do we say, living at work, right?
Yes.
But today I think we're going to have an extra special flavor. Welcome, Tracy.
Let's bring in Tracy, our first guest ever for Pardon the Disruption. Here we go. Dr. Tracy Brower, welcome to Pardon the Disruption.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we already gave you kind of the rundown, and here's the rundown in front of you. So fast-paced show. So are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's go. All right. Right off the gate here, the number one topic here on the screen here, hybrid demand. So there's a demand for this hybrid workforce. You're seeing this marketing term thrown out there around and around. And essentially, there's a Forbes article that highlighted this yesterday, so perfectly timed for the show today. The article was called "A Successful Hybrid Workforce Will Require These Key Hires." Number 1, an employee experience manager maintaining and growing culture. And number 2, a director of sustainability and ESG, which was a new word for me, environmental, social, and corporate governance. So they think these are the 2 hires. Some interesting facts from that. They think data shows 65% of workers working remotely now wish to continue working remotely, and 80% of software engineers who wish to continue telecommuting for a majority of their work schedule after the pandemic. Frank, Tracy, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that this is indicative of a lot of things we're seeing in the CX world, right? A whole host of new titles just popping up, new positions inside the organization that bridge the gap across marketing and sales and customer service. And in here we're seeing employee experience manager is telling us that there's a redefinition underway. What do you think, Tracy?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this redefinition is a really big deal. And one of the things that we know is that people want to continue to come to the office. They want to work from home a lot more, but our Steelcase research suggests they also want to come to the office. And some of the best performers want to come to the office. But it's going to be all about experience and all about what attracts them to the office. And I think it's going to also be all about the skill of entrepreneurialism, right? Those are some of the new skills we'll need to hire as well. In addition to new job titles, people who can check out the market and take risks and add value, whether they're part of an organization or part of a gig economy. That ability to kind of respond and react and solve problems will be key.
Yeah. So like basically, hey, what are you doing at the office? It begs the question. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that like, quite honestly, like this is, we talk about this redefinition. I think about all the things that you're talking about in terms of like this, this working, this new working scenario, this new working situation. It's really bubbling up, a lot of change. I mean, we see 65% of the workers, more than half of the people out there now wish to continue working from home. That changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and there was a post I read on LinkedIn just this morning from a buddy of mine. There's a demand for hybridity. There's a lot of us that, we love working from home, but we also need to get to an office at least 1 day a week, maybe 2 days a week. That'd be nice, right? Mm-hmm. Can we mix it up a little bit? Like, why does it have to be all or nothing? I'd rather have the flexibility and choice to say, hey, I'm going in the office today or I'm working from home today. Yeah. Give me that choice.
Yes, indeed. So topic number 2. Bonding. And this, I'm going to drop this out there to you, Tracy. Unpack this for us.
Yeah, one of the things that we know sociologically is people bond through going through really, really hard times. And so going through this pandemic has definitely been an opportunity for bonding. So I think we're going to have this new and renewed kind of relationship with our colleagues, an opportunity to kind of be close. And we've invited each other into our homes. We've, seen each other with our baseball caps and, seen the cat walking in front of the computer screen. So there's this new connection. And to your points earlier, and Kyle, your last point, we want to go into the office so we can stay connected. I think it's not an all or nothing. We want to work from home some more than maybe what we used to. We also want to go to the office. And part of that is because of the bonding that's occurring. And so that's a really good thing. We can get a lot of great work done and do a lot of good in terms of psychological safety for each other and those bonds that we're creating.
Mm. That's awesome. I think that this is why I'm loving having you on this show, because I think that this maybe hasn't occurred to the basically techno brains of Kyle and Frank, because this whole concept of what we've just gone through, being an experience, and actually one of the outcomes being this desire to lean in and to bond more. A lot of things we talk about are technologies that, bring people together. It's kind of like we're building highways and we're putting together buses and we're putting people on the buses and we're taking them to the dance hall. But when we get to the dance hall, we don't always have the dance hall. It's not ready. We haven't really thought about what are we doing at the dance hall. We just know we need to get them to the dance hall. And you're really talking about something else, right? You're talking about what are we doing coming out of this? What are the implications of this bonding experience?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You've got an image in my head of, the high school dance with all the girls on the one side and all the boys on the other, and nobody dares ask anybody to dance. I think we're going to be in this new place where we're going to want to dance. We're going to ask each other to dance. We're going to all be ready to kind of get back to it. So I love your analogy. That's really good.
Yeah, it really is, again, so much of this, there's 2 ways to approach this, right? There's a tactical way, and then there is a strategic way. But I think it's always best to start strategy and think what does it mean to go back to work? What does this bonding mean? And then what are going to be the tactics that we're going to use to, to amplify it, right? To amplify it, to make it a positive experience. I don't think you just, certain things will just happen. If you leave things alone, things will happen. But it would be good to kind of architect some way around it as well, just to create order.
Yeah, and also what's happening when the lack of bonding, the absence of bonding, what's the polar cause and effect? What's the effect of the lack of bonding, right? Are we getting into mental health issues? I think the answer is yes. I think people are suffering right now. They're suffering in silence. They're suffering at home when they need to be out there bonding, right?
Absolutely, 1,000%. So, question to both of you, do you guys have Fleex Cred? I don't think so. Maybe not, but there is such a thing, and this is just the outgrowth of how people are responding to this hybrid work culture and hybrid workplace. And this is an organization called Fleex, Fleex, and they are being funded. They're getting money to drive this forward. And what it is essentially it's a scenario where the employer creates a budget for each employee around how how they want to kit out their office, and then they're given essentially like an Amazon style shopping area where they can go through and they can select what they want. And if you think about it, it's really kind of cool because ultimately, like in a workplace, and you have an office, and people say, well, X people get square feet, and we buy this type of desk, and we have these types of monitors, and we all walk in and everybody's desk looks the same. When you're at home, nobody has the same home. They have different apartments and houses and working conditions, and their workspace area looks completely different. So now this gives people an ability to kit it out exactly the way they need it. I think it's brilliant. What do you guys think?
Yeah, totally. We've been working really hard on the whole suite of capabilities and furniture and solutions in the home office, and have always had that, but have gotten to a much greater extent on it as well, given where we are with the pandemic. And I think the really interesting way to think about it is to think about employee experience and work experience, and companies who are paying attention to work experience, no matter where you're working. That's the real opportunity. And giving people that palette, that choice palette. We've got customers who are doing similar things where they'll kind of select a palette, and you can make some choices for your home office. And then you've got your opportunity to come to the office as well. But that choice, that flexibility, that ability for people to kind of customize what they want for them and how they work, that's a big deal.
Workplace experience, choice palette. I feel my vocab expanding right now. How about you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I look at this, I'm looking at like the H2H element of it, the human element of it, and
That's right.
and I love it. I love everything about it. I love the Fleex flexibility that they're giving to their employees. I mean, I think this is something to model after. This is something to look after. They're leading the way here, I think, in that, giving you that flexibility to say, here's the budget.
Yes.
You go to like Google campuses or Facebook campus, and you see these vending machines with like tech gear that people can go up to the vending machine. They have an expense account. They can just get a tech gear out of the vending machine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but at scale, taking that home. All right. It's giving that flexibility and the ability to continue to do that. I love it.
As part of a study that I did on the British SAS, there was something that they did which was kitting. And so they did a very special kind of approach to where they allowed people to kit out their exact, things that they would need to take into battle. And it was very powerful psychologically and also just operationally. This kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it reminds me of social norms. Like, do we have any or do we not? Tracy, this is a question for you. I'm teeing you up for this one. So if you can talk to us about social norms, set the context there.
Yeah, I think we're in this new world of social norms and how we're going to be coming together, especially as we braid the digital and the physical. So if we're going to be doing more remote work, some of us are in the office, some of us aren't. We've got to think about the norms of like, how do we share our schedule in a transparent way so that we're in the office at the same time as other people? If some of us are in the office, in a conference room, and some of us are remote, and we are all on screens so that we have some presence equity. Are we looking at each other? Are we looking at the screen? What are the norms in terms of how we're relating to each other? What are the norms in terms of how we're sharing information? What are the new protocols in terms of, how we behave in meetings so that everybody feels included no matter where they are? Those are some of the new opportunities I think that we'll see in terms of social norms. And the opportunity as well will be to be really explicit about social norms. Like, what do we value and how do we behave? And what are some of the shifts we need to make?
I think a lot of that really kind of speaks to just being more thoughtful, right? I mean,
yes.
Isn't that part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that intentionality. Like we're not just going to go to the office anymore and kind of, not think real hard about it. I think we're going to be really intentional about where do we want to do which kinds of work and how do we make sure people are included. Kyle, I loved your comment earlier about mental health, which we know is a huge issue right now. So how do we have people feel included and feel safe and know what to expect so that there's a level of really comfort as people come back to the office and as they start to mix their work to a greater extent.
When you talked earlier about when I got people back to that gym and you said like the guys were on the left and the girls were on the right, like, that speaks to social awkwardness. And I think we're kind of back into like a socially
Yes.
awkward scenario again. Like some of us will just like collide back in, but I think that there is like that redefinition going back into the workplace, the intentionality around it. Like earlier I said, like, why are you here? Like there has to be that question that we ask, like, why are we here? We're not just showing up. This isn't roll call. Like there's purpose behind like why we're here. And now we have the technology to not be there. So like, okay, why are we coming together? And what does that actually mean? What does that collaboration look like? And I'd have to say that don't you think that like impacts like how senior leadership should be looking at their culture?
Yeah, totally. I think that's all about culture. I mean, I think that the purpose is so critical. Like we know that when companies have a really common sense of purpose, when people share that sense of purpose, there are better results and people feel more fulfilled. But we also have this moment to be especially conscious about our work and our work process and why we go to the office. And so thinking consciously about the purpose for the work day to day is a big deal as well.
Yes. Well, so speaking of, that awkwardness, there's got to be, elements of friction and conflict and things that are surfacing around this new hybrid workplace. What are your thoughts on that, Tracy?
Well, the new hair shirt is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, that kind of, like we're putting on, like, we're going back into the workplace. Like we've been sitting in our baggy shorts. And it's the professional mullet, right? Like nice shirt and shaggy shorts, And so now like we're gonna put on some new clothes, and like I'm thinking in terms of like societal behavioral clothing, and it's gonna feel uncomfortable. It's the new hair shirt coming back into the office.
Imagine wearing a shirt made out of hair. Like how uncomfortable that has got to be.
Yeah, it's an age-old analogy, right, of discomfort. And so, what are your thoughts on that, Tracy? What does that look like to you?
Well, you've got another word picture for me, my pandemic mullet. I love that. I'm not gonna be able to forget that for a while. Yeah, I think this is gonna be so interesting because we're gonna get back to the office and we're gonna be so relieved to be back to something that's a little more normal, right? And it's gonna feel good, and then we're gonna get into the office and it's gonna look different. Like there might be more distancing and there might be different circulation patterns, and that's gonna introduce cognitive dissonance because it's going to feel like it should be normal again, but it's not going to be totally what we imagined. And that may set us up for some friction. And I think when we're in that cognitive dissonance, when we're in that friction, that new hair shirt, we could set up for a little more conflict, right? Like if I'm just not feeling myself, if I'm still kind of in the middle of adapting, that little thing that somebody does might annoy me more than it normally would. We have to get used to working in new ways. And that getting used to it process may bring in some conflict and some friction. So I think we've got this opportunity to really, really be especially patient with ourselves and probably with each other as well, as we just get used to how things will be similar, but not the same.
How can an organization work to kind of like think forward on this and start to kind of plan out, like just to be able to kind of like, there's this concept that says like if you instant pre-play, you'll instant replay, which means like you think through the process, you visualize how it could be up front, and then when you are put in that situation, you respond to it in kind. How does one go about kind of like pre-playing those circumstances and getting ahead of that curve?
Yeah, gosh, you said it. I've always loved the mantra, people don't trust what they don't understand. So I think a big part of it is like letting people know what to expect, kind of giving them some sense of what to expect. I think giving them a really clear vision for what it's going to be like, giving them a really clear sense for how important it will be to get back. And I think reducing some of the risk as well. Like people may be a little bit vulnerable, like, oh, I feel like it's the first day of school all over again. So giving people a really clear sense of what that is so they feel less vulnerable.
Awesome. Great points. Well, we're in the home stretch. We're on the last topic, kind of talking about redefining work. We've been kind of going through the process of building a case for redefining work. I think the case is clear.
Redefining work as a happy hybrid workforce, right?
Yeah, and so much we spend a lot of time unpacking this within the context of technology. And we use this concept that we've kind of pushed forward, calling the space in between. We get people, amplify them, we get them to the right conversation. Now you got to have a good conversation. We may be able to analyze it and break it down and say, well, this was hot, this was on point, topical, but people need to be coached on this. And so what we're really seeing is you got to have strategy that's going to inform tactics. I think you've got to be able to establish kit for your people. You've got to focus on some of these outcomes. Some of these things that Tracy's bringing up are these, in complement to the hard side of the technology, the soft side of culture and people. We're always preaching H2H, always. Every single show we're talking about it. But then I really believe in this particular conversation, we're really talking about some of the thoughtful, intentional things that have to happen, and focusing on that quality engagement. New people coming into play with new titles that are going to be focused on that, improving education, intentionally, maybe even planting in gamification around how you work. All these types of things. That whole redefinition process is an intentional, strategic, concerted effort. For you, Tracy, what are your thoughts there? When you're thinking about all the things that you're talking about, happiness at work, you're thinking about the workplace, in summary, if you were to point your finger at any C-level executive out there, what would you say to them?
Wow, that's a really big question. I think it's got to be all about doing the right thing for people. I think a lot of times if you start with people and do the right thing, the performance comes. And so I think it's just about making it as easy as possible for people to perform well, making it as easy as possible for them to bring their whole selves to work, so they just feel like they can bring their talents and their goofy sense of humor or whatever makes them special. And so I think for a senior level executive, it's got to be about linking people together in a really meaningful way, really demonstrating presence and accessibility with leadership, really being able to kind of provide for that purpose and that direction and that line of sight where people understand how their contribution makes the most difference, and really give people a sense of meaning, give people a sense that they're making a really important contribution. Those will be really important. Those will be the things that bring people to the office. Those will be the things that bring people to the culture. Those will be the things that bring people to their greatest level of discretionary effort, no matter where they're working, knowing they'll be working in more places than before.
Yeah. And maybe thinking about that company that's in, Silicon Valley that says, I'm now going to hire, talent in Topeka, Kansas. Or the place in Topeka, Kansas that never could really attract somebody from Silicon Valley, and says, now I have this person on my staff. Did that change the game?
Exactly. It's changing the game. It is absolutely changing the game, because talent is everywhere, right? And we want to absolutely tap into the best talent and give people the best opportunities.
Wow. Tracy, this is guest appearance on Pardon the Disruption #1 for you. This better not be the last. And we're going to cajole, follow. We'll make sure that you get back into the box here with us.
Now, that's not to say you're going to wake up one day and say, we've arrived, we've adapted. It's a constant struggle and a constant battle to continuously adapt.
We've adapted. We're there.
Here.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Well, there's a great saying that kind of builds on what you just mentioned, which is how do you open up a small business? You open up a big one and wait. That is perfect. That's how you get there.